one.
Hey everybody, welcome to SJ Games Live. I am Jimmy and we are here with Ben today. We're going to do a hobby painting stream to celebrate the launch of Carnage 2, another STL project for printing out Car Wars accessories and vehicles on 3D printing.
Not just Car Wars. Any
Any
game you want.
Any game in roughly 1/64th scale vehicular minis. Or accessories. If you have some 1/64th scale metal cars already, you
Right.
can just print the weapons and accessories and things like that and attach them on to some modding of your own. Or if
Yeah.
you've got cars in other systems, you can absolutely mod it on with these weapons or
But
vice
it is,
versa.
are we going to start with Carnage 2 or did you want to talk about?
Let's start with let's go ahead and do a quick
I
backup.
I got the whole download on the whole campaign. I know everything that's in there.
Well then let's start with not that.
Okay.
We're going to start with a quick update over on Munchkin Big Box, which is still going. We got 2 more weeks, 1 more week on that. We have 7 more days on that. There we go, 7 days left. You guys have just recently broken the $900,000 stretch goal on the Munchkin Big Box. Thank you so much. You guys are doing fantastic with that. That $900,000 stretch goal was the art book with John doing a bunch of his favorite art pieces and stuff that maybe didn't make it into everything over the years with some commentary and things like that on it.
Yeah,
He's going to
should
curate that whole
some
book.
sketches, some unpublished stuff, and some stuff that's really hard to find as well.
So we're looking forward to putting that together and including that in the project. The next goals have not been released yet. Daryl and the team and Steve and everybody are looking over those and still thinking about what to put together for that. But we are working on something. So hopefully we will find that out. There are over 6,300 of you backing that project. So we're hoping that we can come up with something cool for all of you on that. Budget, we just wanted to touch on that and say thank you so much for keeping that going. We got 1 week to go on that. So coming into the home stretch, and we're looking forward to seeing where that finally ends up. Thank you so much. This week, talking about Carnage 2, we're going back to some Car Wars and other vehicular mayhem. Again, these are cars, crew, and weapons. So
Cars, crew, weapons. There are super fans, which are a really exciting sort of building element with Car Wars. These are the ones that are so nuts. They go out there, stand by the arena where the bullets fly, just so they can cheer on their favorites. We also have a selection of arena terrain. For those of you who backed the companion Kickstarter, if you do 3D printing, this will give you a chance to print out a lot of stuff that is featured in the companion book and add it to your games. And if you didn't, it's still some cool terrain. It's fences. There's all sorts of other stuff. There's a crazy TV bunker with TV cameras pointed out at the arena. And then yes, just like the weapons are a stretch goal. I don't know, maybe I don't remember where it ended up in the queue. But for now, it's new cars, wrecked cars, cars with no weapons on them, a few of those, lots of terrain. There are other accessories for your vehicles. There's things like spoilers, just weird sort of cosmetic stuff like light racks. There's a 3D printable car base to play with Car Wars, but that was in the first one. It's just there if you only want to do Carnage 2 for some reason.
So the notes here, so there's a light baller designed to be able to put actual LEDs
Oh
into
yeah,
it.
yeah, light bollard. Yep, that's part of the terrain. I mean, mostly it's just a big obstacle you don't want your car to run into.
Yeah.
Yeah, so go ahead, please check it out. Please, if you like 3D printing, go ahead and pledge, and then we can unlock those weapons.
So are there any?
Oh, and the big pledge for this is for a big 1G, you can have yourself added to the Car Wars universe as a super fan. So you can join the super fans in the arena with a tiny, what was it, 64 mil? What was the scale?
1/64.
1/64th scale U, and they're about 10 millimeters tall.
Yeah. So there are limited backers on this. There are actually now 4 of the 5 slots available.
Oh, nice.
So
Okay, we
someone's
have a new
already bought
super
one of
fan.
Superfans.
We have a new face to add to the Car Wars universe.
But this is the top level backer on this one is the Superfan ticket, which you'll work with our design team to make a super fan character of yourself. Again, it's not terribly big,
Nope.
but to design that and add that to the package, and we'll send you the STL. We'll even print some copies of it out and send them to you, some
But I
physical
mean,
copies, and send them to
once
you.
you've got the STL, right,
Yeah.
you can increase, you can blow that thing up, right? You can
Exactly.
make it bigger.
You can scale it up. But yeah, so that is the super fan ticket. The other backer levels on this one are the spectator, which you get access to the pledge manager, and
And a
keychain STL. Yep. And the
Important.
amateur night starter pack, which is what's in the amateur night starter pack? Do you know?
I think that's just Carnage 2.
No, this is
Is
the
it, oh,
this is the $1.
that's the bigger, that's the bigger pledge. I think that's
No,
Carnage.
this is the tiny, but this is the $1 pledge.
Oh, yeah, I think it's one STL and it's pledge manager.
Okay. So the amateur night
Pledge
starter pack
manager
is
/ backer kit access.
The
And-
STL is a license plate keychain.
got it. Okay. And then there's the arena ticket, which is backing the Car Wars, the Carnage 2 STL files and the stretch goals. And the season pass, which is if you miss the original Carnage, you can get the original Carnage and the Carnage 2 STLs, and they'll unlock stretch goals. So those are your back levels in the super fan. Again, 2 new cars. Are these the 2 new ones, or these other ones up here?
So those are Rex. Because we've already got pictures of the 2 new ones on there, I didn't bring them. So if you want to see the 2 new cars, that's Boomslang and Meteor are their names. Just scroll down a little bit.
Yeah, they're
and
right
you
there on the
got
main
painted
page.
You got, yeah, there's rendered spinny gifs and also painted versions. So what we have there on the turnabout is one of the new cars in its wrecked version, and that is Boomslang. It's coming out as a very bright yellow right now. If you check out the page, you can see that Boomslang has a split color scheme. It's yellow on one side, green on the other. And if you've listened to me stream before, you know what I always say, yellow, the best way to do it is to just airbrush that. So that's what I started off with. I primed them white yesterday and also gave it a bright yellow airbrush on one side. It's actually shaded with some contrast paint. I was going to talk about that a bit more once we get to the hobby part. The other one is an existing car, Sawtooth. And that is one that was at an original in the original Car Wars and is part of Carnage 1 as a whole version, but the wrecked Sawtooth is new to Carnage 2. And the wrecks, I think, are some of the coolest because if you play, war games and other scales, this gives you a whole bunch of weird wrecked terrain that you can use for any war game you want, as long as you blow it up and print it out at whatever scale you're using. So I find those to be pretty cool.
Well, we're gonna check in with chat. So hey Paul, hey Howard, our explosion guy. Welcome on in. Good to see you guys. Chris M says, I've never played Car Wars. Is it really fun and easy to learn? I think. Easy to learn and teach. There we go.
Really fun.
The 6th edition of Car Wars, which is the one this is for, came out a couple years ago. It's fun. It's pretty quick to pick up. The rule book is only 24 pages long, which is pretty tiny for a miniatures game.
Yep.
You're only controlling one car, so you only really have to learn the one thing. And generally, it's pretty easy to teach and learn. When we're doing it at conventions, in a half hour, I can teach a group of people to play the game. 20 minutes, a half hour to play the game. The first turn, I kind of narrate them through the whole turn and step by step. The second turn, kind of do it again. The third turn, they're playing on their own.
Yeah,
So
I would say, at least for me, the only real tricky part with learning the game is like token management. It's easy to forget, oh, I need to add this token, I need to spend this token. That can be a little tricky, but once you've gotten into the habit of like, and then I put this token down, then I put this token down, then it's really straightforward.
Oh, I made a roll. I need to remember to take an ace token.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
There's a couple details like that, but by and large, it's pretty straightforward. And we've got a lot. If you want to try to learn it, we've got a lot of videos on our YouTube channel that we've come from these live streams. So we'll play it live on stream a lot of times, and we'll kind of talk through and teach while we do it. So feel free to run over to youtube.com/Steve Jackson Games, and we will be able to show you over there how to play it.
And the other thing about it is, like he was saying, it's only one car, so you customize it every game. So every game you're trying different builds. You can try a higher level build where you're like, we're gonna have cars that are just totally covered head to toe in armor, that have the strongest, craziest guns available. Or you can try for something that'll go a little bit faster maybe, and maybe require a little bit more skill, and that's just sleeker cars with fewer guns, so you have to worry more about managing your movement and positioning just for the right shot. So that's definitely the big part of it is every time you can customize that card differently and see how your build stacks up against the buddies you're playing with. That's not about
Yeah. It's very much a what am I going to try this time sort of thing. Especially
Right.
for me, like some people will like, hey, this is what I like to play. Or if you like get really into one build and you want to like do a tournament or something and try to compete in it or something like that, you guys could set that up. But generally when we play it, I like to try something new each time. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
that's-
what about
that's how I do it.
flamethrowers this time? Or what if I'm just like getting in there with some buzz saws? Or this time I'm going to stay at the distance with lasers and that sort of thing. So yeah, I have lost the chat there, so I'm gonna check out there. Cool. So these are good PLA printed items, or do you guys only use resin prints? I think we are using resin prints on these.
Yeah, I PLA is like the filament, right?
It's the filament printers, yeah.
I don't think it would be good for filament unless you wanted them not at the scale they're meant to be. If you want bigger stuff, then I guess, but I would stay away from the PLA.
Not recommended. We've tried printing some of the cards out in PLA before. It just doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe the terrain stuff might, because you could scale that up easier.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, one of the terrains is a chain link fence. I just don't see that doing well.
No.
Yeah, probably not.
These are designed for resin printing.
I do want to note one thing one more thing on the Munchkin Big Box Kickstarter is that every week when we start these streams, Daryl looks to see if anyone has dropped out of the pledge that had 1,700 copies that came with the giant jumbo the colossal D10. Every week there's usually one or two that have changed their pledge or dropped that level, so there may be a couple of those open. He sees if anybody's have dropped and he reopens those slots during the stream. So if you were wanting one of those, you can run over to the Munchkin Big Box Kickstarter or backer kit and see if any of those slots are open if you want to change your pledge over to one of those slots. Usually there's just a couple, but he tries to check them every week during the stream. Anything else back to Car Wars now? Where are we doing? How are we doing on that Kickstarter? We are currently
It just hit 6K, did it not?
at
Yep, 6K.
just
Nice.
6K,
Oh,
160
went up a little bit again
backers.
just
There we
now.
go.
Very good. Awesome.
So
Someone
coming
just backed it now. We're at
just back to now.
So it looks like we'll get to those weapons any old time.
we're 60% of the way there.
Yep. And so yeah, we did already list the first stretch goal, which was a new set of weapons from Sonic Strike, Tailgate Trouble, and Aggressive Arsenal,
Okay.
which are total 14 extra STLs in there.
Okay.
And there will be some add-ons. You can add on the Car Wars Companion. If you missed backing it originally, you could add that book in, which has alternate rules, scenarios, and all sorts of things in there.
Just lots more things to do, lots more ways to play.
A lot of good scenarios to get good like jumping off points. I think there's over 35, 36 scenarios in the book. So a lot of good ways to play other than just deathmatch. And they may give you ideas for your own scenarios to jump off from there. Let's see, what else do we have? And then also these 2-player starter sets for 6th edition will also be available as add-ons. So if you don't have a copy yet, you can get a copy.
Yeah, all the add-ons are gonna be at the end of the campaign.
Yeah.
So for now, it's just to keep things simple because they don't require any shipping costs. It's just STLs for your pledges.
Yeah.
But then lots of stuff will be there in backer kit once it's over.
Yeah, so the pledge itself is all digital, which means we can deliver it pretty much anywhere.
Yep.
Because it'll just be coming over, email and downloads and stuff. Now, if you add physical items to your pledge afterwards, that's going to involve shipping and everything else, and some of those may be limited where they can go to. But the primary campaign itself, since it's all digital files, is going to be available anywhere.
I think physical is limited to here, to the States. Because it's just gotten so crazy. Because people, what keeps happening for any of you who are in some other country going, why do they keep being so stingy with where they'll ship to? It's because we keep getting hit on our end, on your end, with tariffs, fees, increased shipping costs, just everything you can.
And just bad delivery.
Yeah. So it's unfortunate, but it's just such a huge risk at this point because things will change overnight because somebody will back and then the next day something will happen and there's new tariffs where they live, and
Yeah, we've got
suddenly it's $30 more to get the pledge that they asked for in their country at all.
Yeah, like we've got one fan in Japan that's been working with us on some of the ogre stuff and testing some shipping there, and that turned into a whole like their recommendation is never use this particular shipper again with how many delays and
Yeah.
like they had to like reschedule a pickup and drive to another town and pay extra money
Mm.
just to get the thing that they thought was already covered because we both ends had checked and we'd already thought we already got everything squared away. So it's just international shipping is still a mess everywhere, and we're trying to find stuff as often as we can to work with shipping partners and stuff, but it's tricky and they're constantly changing. We do have a comment in chat. Howard Explosion Guy says he's printed a few of the cars from the old STL pack on PLA, and they turn out pretty well enough. I print them
Okay.
at a 45-degree angle, so the bottom is better and the flat surfaces look better.
Well, that's cool. Thanks for the heads up.
Yep. So it's possible. It's not recommended, but you can work it out. When will the companion be on Amazon Pod? I don't have any timelines on when that companion's going to hit any other distribution yet.
Me neither, unfortunately.
We just don't have the info on that available. Yeah, and our official FAQ on film printers is it'll mostly work. It'll be rougher, and it's going to depend on your printer and how much experience you've got doing filament printing. The more experience you've got, the more you can work out tweaks to like, oh, if I tip it at this angle, I can get it to lay better, that sort of stuff. Anything else? I'm looking through the FAQs on the project right now. What resin do we recommend? There's a README file that's going to come with the STLs that talks about a lot of stuff, elements and types you can use. Our general answer right now is Atlas Vulcan resin standard is what we recommend, or what we've been testing with, it sounds like. So we use for all the prints and the pictures, except for a few that were printed with frozen aqua resin.
And whatever the people who are printing this for us are using, it just keeps getting better. So
Yeah.
it's always changing. They're always coming up with something that holds more detail, and yeah.
Again, it's a field that is still, even though it's been around for a while, it's still improving all the time.
Just put a link to our Discord in the chat because we have a channel that's just about printing and stuff like that.
We do. We've got a whole 3D printing channel and Car Wars stuff and everything in there. So hop on over there. And I guess since this is a hobby stream, we should get painting some stuff. So,
You
Ben,
insist.
which of these things you want me to hand you? The yellow one?
Yeah, let me go ahead with Boomslang.
This is the
That's
wreck
one I've
boom slang.
started
Oh, I
on.
like his. I know his windows shattered out.
Yeah, this is the only one I think that's a two-part miniature, because the hood is separate, just because it's so difficult to get the hollow part inside. I probably shouldn't have glued it, because I'm gonna have to stick my brush in there and paint those seats.
Because yeah, they've actually got the seats inside sculpted and everything.
Yeah. Oh, this is silly. I actually meant to have my phone. I'm not gonna be on the phone. Okay, this is gonna be one of those streams where you watch somebody on their phone, but I want it over here so I can look at the picture of the completed Boomslang while I'm painting. So like I said, so it's split down the middle. So we're gonna start. I'm gonna start off doing the green on the right side. Now, to hold on to it with, I have glued a bunch of old bases that I don't need together, for bases from other games. But you won't have to do this, because one of the items on Carnage 2 is a painting handle that you can print, complete with pins that are the proper size to fit into the Car Wars hole.
Oh, that's a really cool idea.
So the next time you see me on here, maybe I will have one of those painting handles, and I won't have to do this. All right, so what I have here, I have some AK Deep Green. That's my green for now. Honestly, I feel sort of silly about this, given that I do this so much and I'm technically supposed to be a professional, but I never write down the colors that I use. Professionals are supposed to make little recipes and lists, and I've just never gotten in the habit. So I am pretty sure that it was deep green that I used on the original, but hopefully we'll be able to get it close enough. So I'm going to get as much green in there as I can.
How's the car attached to the bases there?
Super glue.
Just super glue?
Yep. And because of, I mean, I'm one of those, like, some people are super fussy about what they will let their minis look like, you know, and they don't want even on the bottom, you know, they want it to be nice and clean. I don't care. You know, you can flip over a lot of my minis and they'll look really ugly underneath. And I'm fine with that. So I don't mind that there's going to be a big, gross sort of hole, for lack of a better word, on the bottom with some little crusty super glue. Because I'm totally happy to just pop it off when I'm done. And nobody will ever see it. It's just going to go on a base or just be displayed on its own. Although I shouldn't say nobody will ever see it. There's an entirely reasonable chance that this will end up in a case at Gen Con, and if it's the top shelf of that case, and it's a glass
The
glass
shells.
shelf, you can see what I'm talking about.
Ju-
You can
ju-
see
just
it.
letter on the bottom, you know,
Just put
don't
all those
look
on the
here.
bottom
Yeah.
shelf.
And that's actually like if you ever do professional painting, that's like a no-no. You can't leave ugly bases underneath. They'll grade even that.
I mean, for like a contest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the really high grade stuff, they'll like even look under the bases to see if they're clean. They want like a nice, perfect, smooth black, I guess. It's been a very long time since I did a professional painting.
I've also heard though for that, like a lot of them that come in the boxes when they do the box art, sometimes they only paint like the front.
Yeah, that's true. One of my favorite minis companies, I might have even spoken to them on this stream before, was Rackham. They haven't been around in over, gosh, like over 15 years now. But they made these really great, really creative fantasy sculpts. They even had a sci-fi minis game line. Paolo Parente was one of the big concept artists, and so a lot of people know who that is. Anyway, um, they just couldn't stay competitive, and before the range completely disappeared, they sold the models, the line. Um, I don't think the IP rights, but the distribution rights and the production rights to Fantasy Flight Games. So this would have been late 2000s, and Fantasy Flight Games put 3D rotations of all these models on their website, so you could see, and whoever did it didn't stop to go, now wait, a lot of these, the backs aren't painted. And it wasn't all of them, but there were a few, and it was really the ones like towards the end of the game's popularity, where they had only done the front. Now there was still a little bit on the back because they would, I guess they would do airbrush to
Yeah.
start, so there was something, like there was color, there was a little bit of value, but it was really clear that it was not finished, and that always cracked me up because at the time, at least, the Rackham painters were viewed to be the best on earth, you know, par none.
Right.
And so the fact that a lot of their minis weren't finished was just like, it was really funny.
It's all just an illusion.
They were finished
Right.
enough for the photo shoot.
Exactly. And so far, that's nothing. I've never been that way. I always finish it, and that's important for these because we do like to put them on display, and you never know, somebody can get around to the side, and if the back's not done, you could tell.
Yeah, 'cause it seems to me like it was
Some
just
some people might go around the office looking for any painted car they can have and grab it off the
Right.
shelf and bring it onto the stream without asking them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who that might be.
I mean, it seems like it would be almost as much work to only do half of it.
Yeah.
As far as some of the things that are going to be in here, we mentioned the two new vehicles, Boomslang and Meteor. They're going to have the armed version of those cars, the fully complete version of those cars, the unarmed version of those cars, so just the
Say
car
it, say
without
the
any
word.
of the
Say the word. Just say it.
What?
Naked.
naked cars. There you
Yeah.
go.
That's
But-
what we've been calling them in the office.
got it. But we'll have with weapons and without, and sans weapons.
Right.
And then also the wrecked versions of the cars. So you'll have all three that you're able to work with for those two cars on there.
So what I'm actually doing now, to pop back,
Yeah.
I've got some contrast paint. Now this has weirdly become something I've been using a lot. If you guys know what contrast is, it's supposed to be a speed paint. and it's pretty good for that. You can paint it over a white base coat, and it goes into the recesses really well, and it can kind of get you some quick values. But what I've been using it for lately, and it's been working really well, is just sort of like just to blend in some color. And the reason why it works is it's pretty saturated, despite being sort of like a wash. So it's very liquidy, and it just flows in really well. And I started trying this. The first thing I started doing with it was just to sort of use it as like, I mean, really what it's supposed to be for, like an instant blend. But this would be over stuff that I'd done a lot of, like more painstaking actual blending, like brush highlights, brush shading. And this was with red, just take and do just the thinnest possible layer of the contrast blood red, or blood angels red. I think I brought it. Over the red, and it just sort of, yeah, it's blood angels red. Just sort of creates like a much more saturated red throughout. And so it's been really useful with tricky colors like that. With yellow as well, this Eandon yellow, it's just so hyper saturated that it gives you this really bright color. And they're all a little different. The Blood Angels red, it does help, but it's not quite as saturated as some of just like the pure paints you can get. So it's always interesting to try new stuff. But what I've been using Orc Flesh on the deep green from AK while it's still wet, and blending that in and using it as shading. And it may take a couple coats, and that's just one of those things where that's just something that I just assume will happen anyway when I paint, so I don't worry about it. But you can use that contrast as a base, and you can try all sorts of colors in between, right? Like you can use that the Orc Flesh, but blend it into yellow, blend it into a light blue.
And you said blended in. Are you just painting over some of the other areas, whether they're already based in that color? Or?
No, I'm actually like wet on wet blending. So
Okay.
using it as if it were a paint.
Regular paints and contrast together.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, because it's dark, just because of the nature of it, you can only really use it as a shade. So the highlights are your traditional out of the pot paints, and then contrast, whichever color, is going to have to be some kind of a shade. And I think I highlighted this, yes, with my favorite crazy bright green, the frog green.
Frog green.
You guys have all seen the frog green in the stream before. So I'm going to get some of that. That is a highlight.
Just want to do a quick shout out. Band of Badgers is a UK painting stream, and they're going to have Will on shortly after us here over on their channel. They've done a little shout out there. If you want to give them a follow, and when we're done here, head on over there and check out, or do two screens at once. Watch both Ben and Will on different streams. But they're going to be doing some stuff over there on their painting stream. Painting stream with Will.
Yes, since it starts around 3, I probably won't be on here for too much longer after that's begun. So these things don't usually run more than like 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how long they're planning on speaking with Will.
They're in the UK over there. What time is it there?
I think this is 9 p.m.
They're going to be, depending on where they're at, plus 5 hours or so.
Yeah.
So it's going to be about 7:30, 8 o'clock
Oh, okay.
for them.
GMT.
Roughly, I don't know specifically which one they're in, but about that.
All right. Now I'm
Yeah,
gonna
give them a follow. Check out their stuff if you like these painting streams. They do all sorts of stuff over there.
I'm gonna move back to the
Oh.
yellow that I had started with the some
They're
airbrushing.
they're one of our painting partners for this Car Wars Carnage 2 project. So we've got several people lined up that we've sent them the files to print and print
I
out
think
and
we
paint
maybe
up.
even mailed them something.
Might have mailed them the actual. We may have just mailed them the copies. They have copies of these cars one way or another, and they're going to be featuring them on their streams in the next little bit here. So keep an eye on all of those. We've got people like Dice Cast Breakdown, Radhole.ca, Band of Badgers, J Dragon, Miniatures Page, whole lot of people. So keep an eye out. We'll be popping up in hopefully all your painting streams where they paint cars and stuff, and seeing many people's takes on these cars.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what they do. All right, so I'm gonna go back to yellow. I want to add a little bit more, a little bit deeper of a shadow. So I'm gonna start by getting a little bit of that Eandon yellow on the brush. Then I'm gonna dab a tiny little bit of Vallejo Gorgon brown, which is a very sort of orange brown. This is gonna be a little darker than the Eandon I used as an initial highlight. Just gonna go start bringing that down along the side. And this will kind of show you another, oops, I missed.
Show you another oops.
It's darker in here than it's always a little darker in here than I'm used to.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it makes worse. So I've got the streak down the side, and then I can just kind of blend it in by adding a little water. And it's not always going to be perfect, but it's another kind of thing that I'm doing here, and hopefully it's coming through, is a little bit of sort of feathering. And what that means is, while I have the pigment on the tip of the brush, there's actually a little bit of water on the surface, and so I'm putting the pigment down, and then there's sort of like, with the water here will sort of help blend it in. And you can do this sort of as you go, where you're sort of brushing on a mixture of opacities. Wow, is that too much jargon? So the point of the brush has the pigment, and the further down on the brush you go, there's more water. So you're actually like just painting on a blend as you go. And with anything, it needs layers, and it may not always work right. So you may need to go back and rescue it. And I'm going to do a little bit of that. And so we've got a bunch of yellow on the tip of the brush and water towards the base. So again, I'm going to try to use that mix to paint a little blending. It's not working quite as well, but hey, you know, you just keep at it. If there was like an easy button, then people wouldn't need to watch these streams because they just use it.
Right. Welcome in, Jedi. Good seeing you again.
And additionally, because this is a wreck, there's really only so much like depth that I feel like I need to go into with highlighting and shading, because part of the process is going to be to just give it a big fat wash, probably of Agrex Earthshade. Yep. Just because, you know, it's all dinged up, it's smoking, it's a wreck. So it's gonna have to look a little dirty. So if I, you know, some of the time I spend doing all this, it's just gonna get covered. And if you didn't notice, like as Jimmy pointed out when it was on the turntable, it does have all this broken glass across the front, which is really cool. But it is going to take a lot of time to pick up those individual shards. So that is probably not something we're going to get to today.
Now, how are you going to approach that sort of thing? Are you going to give them like a kind of a white to be like the broken glass, or are you going to try to glaze them so that it looks like it's transparent on the hood, or?
I don't know of a good way to paint it so that it looks transparent and have it really show up. I don't know how to do that good of an illusion. Additionally, the windshield for this car in the non-wreck version is magenta. So it's a very, what I do with the windshields on most of these is I kind of think about them as like, I mean, it's like a one-way mirror, right? Like it looks like a bright, colorful mirror from the outside, but you know, from the inside, it's transparent. So I'm going to just go ahead and match the color of that windshield. And woof, doing magenta over the screen is not going to be fun. But yeah, the wreck's really doing like a beautiful, perfect wreck paint job. It's probably a lot more time consuming than the base car.
I'm just doing the original one.
Right. Because just all the extra detail. And so if
Gotta
any
figure
of
out
you
what happened
guys-
to it.
Right. Exactly. And was this part burnt or was it just crushed? So nobody's gonna blame you guys if you just like dry brush them or do a wash. They do have an effect in the Car Wars game because you would put it on the car base in place of your car, and then the other people would have to deal with it as an obstacle for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
You could even smash it into somebody else, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it becomes a heavy obstacle, so it's still something that can get shoved around
Yep.
the arena and everything else.
Um,
I mean, you can
or you can push someone into it.
for someone into it, you
Play
can.
your cards right.
I mean, because Car Wars is so much a game about how you want to do it. Like the scenario design and everything like that is very open. So the default is you become a wreck, which is a heavy obstacle. Now, if you want to say in your arena, yeah, but eventually that's going to break up, right? So you say, okay, it has 5 hit points or 10 hit points, so that you can damage track it and say when it's no longer an obstacle. Or you could even say, all right, after it takes 5 points of damage or 10 points of damage, then we're going to replace that wreck with 2 cards of spikes to represent the debris or something. Like you can house rule all sorts of stuff through the scenario design, depending on how much you want to track and how much realism you want to try to make into it. Like, or it can just be, hey, look, that's a wreck. We're gonna kick it around the arena. No one's gonna break it up enough during the course of this 5-minute fight to actually deal with figure out all those small details and everything.
Or you might just keep shooting at it to really rub it into your friend who was using
can
the car
too.
in the first place.
I could shoot him, but he'd get cover from your wreck, so I'm just gonna blow your wreck up some more. And again, that's another thing. Like maybe you give it hit points because you want to be able to get rid of it as an obstacle to providing cover.
Yeah.
And maybe it makes more sense to get rid of the cover than it does to take a shot.
But that's definitely part of why they're included. They were part of the original Car Wars. You could buy the wreck miniatures.
Yeah.
And now you'll be able to get the STLs, but they're
And
just
the game comes with just a wreck token as well.
yeah. But it's a fun part of gameplay.
Exactly.
So it can definitely be cool to get a nice painted version of. All right, I'm gonna tap my phone again. It's closed. I want to make sure. Okay, so I had kind of like a copper look going on for these canisters in the back and for the tubes. So the way I like to do copper these days, get a nice warm brown. So I'm basically going to use the same brown that I was using to shade the yellow with, which is a Vallejo Gorgon brown. People always forget that there were 2 kinds of mythological Gorgons. There were the serpent people, and then there are the weird bull creatures. And I'm pretty sure that's the brown we're referencing here. It's like a ruddy animal fur brown. And then to highlight that for copper, I really like to use a skin tone. So got a couple choices out here. I think the Radiant Flesh will be better. Oh, let's see. Get on camera. So I got Radiant Flesh and then basic skin tone. And they both work pretty good. I think a little bit of orange will help. So I'm going to go with the Radiant skin tone. I haven't had both of them on my web palette already. So yay, I don't have to deploy anymore. So I'm going to try to get a mix of the 2. So we got kind of a brownish pink. And I'm going to put that on there everywhere that the base boom slang has copper.
It looks like if you were hoping for one of those Munchkin big box pledges with the extra colossal die in them, those have been snapped back up again. So gotta act quick. Daryl will probably be checking those one more time, maybe. I don't know exactly what time it's going to end next week. So if it ends after the stream starts, then we'll probably add them in then. If it ends before then, there may not be any more.
I never got one of those.
The Colossals?
No.
I did when we did the original red ones, but I did when we reprinted these 3 colors.
Wonder why I missed
I
one.
think I got a green. I'm gonna have to ask for it.
Oh yeah.
We'll talk to the warehouse.
I'll be okay.
I think you're out of luck now.
Yeah. I'll be okay.
I guess some people will fight you for it.
We got one in here.
Could donate it.
Maybe you can have that one.
Nah.
Ben will officially trade a miniature for one of those.
I was just going to, I was just going to talk about how colossal it is, but then I was like, wait, I don't actually have one. I can't say.
There's one right behind you, Jimmy.
I've held
They're
one in
behind
my
on
hand.
the. Yep, there it is. I see it. They are pretty colossal.
It's a new segment of the show we like to call Jimmy Tries to Find the Die. Oh wow, it's in a box. Okay, so
Yeah.
that makes sense at least.
Well,
That's why you
because it
couldn't
comes with
find
that, it
it
comes with some cards.
first.
But yeah,
That's
they're
how it should,
they're-
yeah.
a little weighty. Here we got a big spinny thing.
Put it on the. It's too big for the home when we move the camera back.
I can slide it more to this side of it here.
Bigger than a fist.
It is large.
About grapefruit size.
Co-
Yeah.
Car Wars car for scale.
It's we don't want someone to throw this at you.
No, no. Do not throw that at people. We will not be held responsible. You probably will.
The old
It's
metal
going to cause
Cthulhu-
damage.
The old metal Cthulhu is probably more dangerous
I don't know, man.
because of the amount of force,
It is, but
hardness.
feel that.
That's a lot of mass right there, dude.
I think it feels like I
Like
swear the metal
if
Cthulhu
you
die is
fastball
heavy.
this.
If you
Right.
got hit with the pointed part,
Yeah, especially.
Yeah.
Stick him back up here.
I do have a metal Cthulhu. So I know that.
Those are pretty cool. Because who would ice metal? I think those are my favorite version of those because we had the normal ones. We had several different. We had them in a lot of colors. We had the big foam ones, foam D12s, for a while. But the metal ones were pretty cool.
we just need to make a metal colossal die.
We do not.
That would be. I think
That'd
like
be a shipping
when-
nightmare.
When we were talking about that, Daryl and I were joking about like, well, what probably is the most expensive single die ever made? I mean, and
That's probably
so
some
immediately you
gemstone
find
dice.
out what.
Probably some of those gemstone dice.
Well, we were looking by size, and the largest, of course, were all for like private events, right? Like
Yeah.
it's the thing that you've made to have on your booth, so people come by.
Come by and
But
roll
there
the
was
giant
there
dice
was
or thing.
one that like is about that size, but made in titanium. That's like $750.
Yeah, we were
out there.
at
Sure.
Gamma. We had some of our friends over at Die Hard Dice had set up some stuff at their booth. One of the things they set up was dice bowling, and so they'd made a D20 that was about yay big, like a little bit bigger than that. So it was nice, like put in your hand ball size D20 that you're rolling at little play bowling pins that they'd like 3D printed dragon heads on and stuff. But they had actually they custom made that D20 for bowling for it, and it was actually as filler. They used a bunch of other failed dice. So like the center of the mold that they put in, they just put a bunch of their fails in there to be the core of this big honking die that they used.
Nice.
I always
You
raised
can't be.
them
You
up.
cannot be easy to bowl with a D20.
It wasn't too hard, but it wasn't super easy.
It sounds like it's about the size of a skee ball.
A little bigger than a
Little
skee
bigger
ball.
than that.
Yeah.
All right. Right now, I am doing a very pale blue. This is called. I mean, it might just be called pale blue. You guys have watched these before. I always talk about how much I love the very super literal names that AK comes up with for their colors.
Well, I mean, it's descriptive. Like, oh, I need pale blue. You don't even
Right.
know. It's like, what?
Snow
I-
blue, snow blue. Pretty.
We're not gonna bother trademarking
descriptive.
this one.
Yeah.
I used Snowy Day on it. Well, what color was Snowy Day? Was it a white? No, it was actually a pale blue. Yeah. Here's Orc Blood. Okay, was Orc Blood green, yellow, or red? No, it's purple. Why is Orc Blood purple?
Because they're green, but they have red blood, so when it mixes together, it's
Right.
kind of a deep purple.
It's actually yellow.
A little too much. So yeah, so some snow blue here. I honestly don't know how much I'm gonna bother with the shading and highlighting for the metal bits. just because, like I said, it's gonna get wrecked. So there's gonna be some aggressive washing and dry brushing done. A few steps down the road. This is an interesting touch over here because if you look, this one side has a rocket that never got to launch, and then this one it clearly did.
It's
And
just
it has-
the
yeah,
clips for it.
The clips are left. They also put like a little blowout on the tire here, which is pretty cool. And I like that the wrecks throughout the line are sort of in various stages of destruction. Like this one, like maybe this car might be able to drive again, you know. But then if you look at Sawtooth on the turnaround, like that's just smashed. Like that's just
He's
almost bent in half.
yeah, that's not driving anymore.
No. Like this one, you can almost imagine just got so many bullets that one hit the power supply and it just sort of settled down. But Sawtooth is just trashed.
Chris, any idea update on the next big box stretch goal, or are we still working on that on what to offer? They're still kicking around ideas for that one. Steve and Daryl and the team are looking at what's going to be for the maybe 950,000 or maybe $1 million stretch goal.
I've heard lots of the ideas knocked around, but I can't talk about any
Yeah.
of them.
If you have ideas, there's a thread under what we posted yesterday on the project update for the art book stretch goal. There are a bunch of people are weighing in on things they'd like to see there, and so I know the team's watching that for ideas and stuff. And Steve and Daryl commented on a few things in there on feasibility and stuff they'd like to do or would like to consider. And some problems of things that maybe they can't. Like one thing that came up a lot of people like playmats. Like the problem with the neoprene playmats is that the price on making those has gone up dramatically in the last few years.
Yeah.
And like an order of like 6 times more expensive to make them now. So it's, while they're cool, not everybody wants them and they're pretty tricky to offer. So it's probably not a real high likelihood that a neoprene playmat is going to be what is going on there, but there's like I said, they're looking at the feedback. But so keep an eye on that. Again, that is the Munchkin Big Box campaign, which has 1 week left to go on it. We have more than made the goal on that. We have made all the stretch goals that we thought we were going to make. We've hastily come up with some more stretch goals. We're trying to pull out a couple more stretch goals for the end, but you guys definitely exceeded all our expectations on that project.
And I can tell you guys, John was so excited about the opportunity to get some of that unpublished stuff up there.
Oh, the push art, yeah.
Yeah, I know all this because in addition to the painting, I do all the Kickstarter graphics. So I was on some of those emails and he was just so stoked about getting that stuff. He just had so many ideas, you know. So I'm sure he's thrilled. So another big thank you to everybody who pledged to get that one up there.
Yeah. And then this, if you're just joining us, we're doing painting today because this is one of the new miniatures in the Carnage 2 STL campaign that is up live as of today on Kickstarter. This is for printable cars, crew, and weapon STLs and obstacles and other things for the Car Wars and other roughly 1/64 scale vehicular combat games. There's going to be terrains. If we hit the first stretch goal is already released for that, and that's going to be weapons from some of the new packs coming out this summer. And again, this comes with the base version of the cars with, you know, as they are designed, version without weapons. Ben likes to call it the naked version. And then the
You're the only one not calling it the naked version, man. Lighten up.
It's not listed as the naked version in anything they've given to me.
Okay.
This is the first I've heard of it.
That's what everybody's been calling them throughout the whole development cycle. Oh, the naked cars. How many more naked cars do we have? Do we have more naked cars? We can put more naked cars in there? I just thought that was the name, but yeah, I guess it would be weird.
It might be, but I didn't hear about the project until last week. So, yeah, and also the wrecked versions, which is what you're seeing here. This is this is the wrecked boom slang.
Wreck Boom Slang,
Wrecked boom slang.
which is also a new car.
Yeah.
So this is a new wreck of a new car that is new to the game. has been available. Oh, you know what? What might be fun? What do you know? What weapons are on this thing? What are they? You've played more than I have.
If I had to guess, the one on the top
I mean,
looks.
the missiles are easy.
Yeah, the missiles are easy. I think the one on the top might be a Gauss cannon. If I'm seeing that right. And the sides, those look kind of like it's a slug weapon, the jackhammers, I think.
Mm.
Like if I'm having to guess based on the scope versus what I can remember off the art cards, if I remember the names right, it kind of looks like a Gauss cannon on top, and oh no, those are 2 barrels on the side, so those
Yeah,
will be
it's double-
jackhammers.
Double barrel.
Not sure what that's going to be off the top of my head. If I pulled out a binder, I could probably find it.
But back to the unequipped cars. What's cool about those is if you're handy with 3D software, you can equip the cars and then print them out done. You know, you don't have to print them and then glue them on. You can just make whatever crazy loadout you want and then print it that way, and then bam, it's ready to paint.
Yeah, if you're a pro with STL stuff, you can pre-assemble the car. Counter Explosion Guy says the promo image on the top of the Kickstarter shows 2 miniatures that look like dead crew. Those aren't mentioned in the figures section. Are they included?
Oh, what could that be? It's a stretch goal.
It's a stretch goal.
Yeah.
It's an unreleased stretch goal of the resting crew.
And the cool thing about those are teasing something even, I mean, I think is even cooler. I won't say what, but it's a really neat part of Car Wars lore. And I mean, I'm sure we'll hit that stretch goal, but we would have to find some way to make it available. And that's all I'm gonna say.
That's as much of a tease as you're
Because,
gonna get.
do you feel sufficiently teased by the hidden stuff? Well, the hidden in the open stuff on the header.
Nope.
I'm doing black on the tires. If anybody was wondering, seems pretty straightforward. And again, we got a very flat tire in the back, but nobody did anything with this tire. So it's still good to go. Basically, right now, I'm just trying to get it to the point where I'm ready to put a wash on it. And I haven't completely decided if I think it's worth doing all these little glass shards before I do the wash. It probably is. Because then it's just, everything gets nice and shaded all at once. So that's a lot of tiny little details in magenta. Man, my brush is really splitting badly today. I hate when they do this. I don't know. Do you guys out there have this problem where the hairs just split?
Want to do this.
Yeah, no matter what, they don't want to make a point. That's a big part of why there ends up being so much pain on my hands, because it's like I twist it to get it into a point, and I mean I could do that on the table, but I can always wash my hands. I mean, the hand is closer. Just do it every time. It's been driving me crazy today. I've been a Winsor & Newton user for years, but lately, so many of the brushes of theirs that I buy have this problem where they just want to split. Even just straight out of the tube, they want to split, and you can twist them and get them to go back into a point, and then it's good for like a little while, and then bam, they're splitting again. Drives me nuts. Makes it really hard to get anything done. The smaller ones aren't as bad, but I'm using a 1 right now. The zeros are a little more reliable.
One email mentioned the classic Car Wars cars, and I thought that meant the old 80s Loubet art. If we ever see something like that? A lot of the stuff was, 4/6 edition was based originally on updated versions of old cars from the old original sets, versions 5 and earlier. Direct license over those. Nothing's ever a no, but a lot of times the look on a lot of these has changed since then, and we can't directly reusing old art is something that we would have to go, reacquire rights for, in a lot of times
Really?
for those things. Depends on how we license the art in the first place. Like
Oh,
we can't automatically assume just because we used it in something before we use it in something else. It depends
that's
on
true.
how we bought it, what the contract was, and everything like that. So, is it automatic? Yes. No. Is it automatic? No. No. If I said yes, no too many times to confuse the issue, probably.
It's a known unknown.
It's a known unknown.
Maybe.
Is it a maybe? Yeah, I know that a lot of the stuff, like I said, some of them were inspired by old cars, and some of them were pretty close, but they all had kind of a new take on them. And again, a lot of times, old art, not old art in general, you can be inspired by it, but when the time comes to make a 3D model, you can sometimes at best be inspired by the original art. Actually recreating a 3D object from a 2D painting or image is not always possible to do in direct translation, just because of any number of things.
All right, since we're getting close to the end, I'm
Yeah.
gonna bust out this color that I saw. They're calling it laser magenta. Why is it laser magenta? Now, there's also just
Magenta.
magenta. Ugh, I can't keep things in the camera. There's just magenta.
What's the difference?
Laser magenta seems a bit darker, but that's what I'm gonna get out.
More 80s, I'm
And
guessing.
I'm gonna start using that to pick out all these crazy little bits of glass. Oops, and I dropped the top. Sometimes you're trying to hold two things in your hand at the same time. Jimmy's got it, don't worry. There we go. All right.
See, laser magenta sounds like it's like you get a lot of the 80s like kind of
Right.
cyan and
Right,
pink
like our lead in,
lasers.
like our video lead in.
Yeah. Our synthwave kind of looking lead in thing.
Yep.
Like that's what laser magenta sounds like
We're
to
just
me.
gonna head down to Tech Noir.
Yeah, that's probably what they were going for. But really, it just seems a bit darker than the regular magenta. But I just couldn't resist buying the laser magenta. Laser. I think I need to get the little brush out. This stupid thing. If you got any of you guys out there that do paint, hopefully you understand how frustrating the lack of a point is. It's like spreading issue of the bristles, driving me absolute nuts. I like to use larger brushes for most things, just because you can. If a brush can come to a good point, you can use a fairly large brush for more stuff than you would think, and it means you're laying down more paint, so it's going a little bit faster, and you're having to reapply paint to the brush less frequently, so that's also going a bit faster. But I can't just stop and like twist the stupid tip of it into a point between every stroke. That one might be just get tossed in the trash when I get. I guess it is a little bit.
And these are the windshield bits you're picking up now.
Yep. And if you want to see what what the core one looks like, the non-rect one, it's there in the campaign. Scroll down. And this I gotta tell you, like
It's actually right on the cover image of the campaign.
oh yeah, so
Like not the painted version, but the I guess it is the painted version.
yeah, the painted non-rect version.
Like in the graphic, it looks like it's just graphics, but that's actually just your thing in a graphic.
There's wrecked and unwrecked,
Yeah.
and painted and unpainted, and equipped and unequipped versions of everything, right?
Naked and non-naked.
Naked and non-naked.
I assume there are not naked versions of the crew.
No, the crew are all. I mean, unless the sculptors did something on their free time about talent.
Maybe the super
But
fans.
we don't. I mean, they're enough.
One of the super fans is he's got his boots. No, he's got his jean shorts, his boots, and his beer hat.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's got
yeah.
a foam dome.
Yeah.
That's Billy Bob.
That's Billy Bob. Yeah, there's if you look
And
on the
he
staple
loves
painted
Star
figurines
Wars.
section, there's three of the super fans. You got Angela, Billy Bob, and Mimi.
And remember, that guy is 10 millimeters tall. So that's, I think,
That's a centimeter. He's a centimeter tall.
yeah, maybe a bit taller.
Chat wants to know what's the thinnest brush you typically use. How many zeros?
Just the 1 0. So just 0. I have a 00, but I just find them next to impossible to use. You put the tiniest little bit of paint on it because there's like 3 bristles, and then you get it back, and then by the time you finally have it oriented and you're ready to make that mark, like the paint's dry.
Yeah.
That's what always happens with them with me. And there is retarder. Nobody laugh. That's what it's called. It's called retarder. Okay.
Designed to
And-
slow the drying
Yeah,
of the paint.
yeah. It's kind of a pain in the butt to use. I actually have some in a dropper bottle in case I ever want to like put a little bit on my palette, but I just never use it.
Do you ever use
And there's 2 kinds. There's stuff that's like it's like water. It's like water consistency. And then there's thicker stuff. And so, depending on what you're trying to do, one or the other might be more helpful.
do you ever use any of the like the pens or markers sort of thing that I've seen people use on like Gundams and that sort of thing?
Nah.
What do they call those Gundam liners?
Yeah, they're lining pencils. I mean, now, like I remember years ago, people would just use the micron pens, talk about the micron pens.
Yeah.
And now, yeah, they're pens specifically made for models and for getting the cracks in the lines and stuff. They probably always were. They probably, or at least there were, a decade and a half ago, like I'm thinking, they might just have been harder to find in the States.
Yeah, I've only seen those mentioned recently.
Because there's been so much stuff in Japan for Gundam modelers that we Westerners just don't know about.
Right.
They have all these crazy magical arcane tools that blow our minds. Like I saw one the other day that a friend was using to make one of their Gundams, and it's like a tiny little board. I don't know what to compare it to, but it's not. I mean, the tip of it maybe like 75 millimeters across. It was made of glass, and it was for doing like just the tiniest bit of sanding, so that when you clip, your Gundam off the sprue, like it almost like buffs and embosses it at the same time, and so
Little spot.
yeah, instead of like a sprue clip, it's just like this perfectly smooth surface. And this thing, because it's made of glass, it comes in like a case. So when you use it, you like get the case out, open it up, and then remove the tool. And then when you're done, you put it back in there in the foam because it's glass and you don't want to break it. And the only thing about it is like it wasn't like an insanely expensive thing. It was like a $30 tool,
What's
which is
it's for buffing where the sprue points
right,
after you clip it.
right.
Hmm.
Because they don't, Gundaming, you don't paint it. Like,
Right.
well, you don't necessarily paint it. Usually you don't paint it. You can, and there are people that do. But usually it's just about the fun of building it and having a really clean, perfect build. So, yep, they made this weird, tiny little sanding tool.
Just want to go over the pledge levels real quick. I scrolled down and found more of the details I was looking for earlier. So the $1 spectator pledge. If you just want to get in and get some of the extras, or you're not sure, or you don't necessarily want to do a whole lot of 3D printing, but you do want to get that Car Wars companion book on as that add-on later, you can back at the $1 level.
But we will be selling it at some point.
Sure, but right now you back at that, you'll get access to the pledge manager, and you'll get the Car Wars STL license plate STL. You also get the Amateur Night starter pack, which is what I was asking about earlier. It's a collection. We've been giving this away on Warehouse 23, so you can get it already. But it's a collection of STL files that gives you everything you need to replicate the loadout on the Bubblegum Bandit car that we put in Carnage 1. So it's got the Ram Plate A, Rocket F, Machine Gun G left and right, and Energy B left and right. And that way, so you can build out that whole car with this one file, this Amateur Night package that comes with the $1 level. So if you just want to follow it, or you're not sure, you want to get in there to remind yourself when this thing is getting close to an end, you can just back at the $1 level and follow it that way.
Do we let the dollar people comment?
Believe it, yeah, if you're backing, you can comment.
Okay.
Generally,
Because I think you can say like the lowest pledge level doesn't get to comment because there's so many trolls on Kickstarter and people will pledge $1 just to troll throughout a campaign.
I'm not sure. The main level is the arena ticket, which is $30, which is everything in Carnage 2, all the STL files for that, and any stretch goals we unlock with it. which may or may not teased a couple of those. And then if you miss the first one, you can get the season pass for $65, which is Carnage 2 and Carnage 1 STL files, and all the unlocks and stretch goals that come with that. And then if you are a super fan, you can be a super fan and get work with us to get one of the character sculpts of yourself into the game, into the STL file packs. And we have 4 of those remaining if you really want to get into that level. But this is going to be running until, scroll back up to the top. This is a 2-week project, so we got 13 days to go after this. And then we expect to, right now, we're expecting delivery in August, it looks like, for the digital rewards. If you do physical rewards, that may change and may limit where we can send your stuff to. So, but digital rewards should be able to go worldwide.
Yep, I'm just painting little bits of magenta over here.
You want to throw that up on the
Sure.
turntable here when you get to a stopping point there and see where we're at so far?
Absolutely. And man, that is going to be a whole other thing when I get to it. Figuring out how to make each one of those little bits look like a shiny piece of broken glass is going to be a whole new adventure, because there are a lot of tiny little pink pieces on that car right
There
now.
are. I really like that they like went as far as sculpting the interior behind the windshield for that. Like you got the
Well,
you got the seats, you got the dashboards. you
here's
got
a
the
funny
wheel.
story that I probably nobody's going to get mad at me if I tell, is those unconscious people on the header graphic that somebody was asking about in the comments earlier. They started as part of that sculpt. Like originally there were 2 unconscious, there was an unconscious driver and an unconscious gunner, or possibly deceased, spread out over the front of that car, like literally busting out of the glass. Yeah. And we were like, well, we don't want to do that, because the point is they get out. They're supposed to be able to get out. That's why we sculpted them running around. So then, but they're like, okay, well, we have them, so just we'll pay a little bit more to turn them into casualties, and now they're in a stretch goal that has yet to be unlocked. So get to unlock them, folks.
Do you like the contrast more than Army Paint or Speed Paints?
I actually have used Army Painter Speed Paint. I even have one with me, and so I've only got the one. Army Painter is similar to every other brand of paint in that it can be harder to track down. Right now, there's only one store in town that consistently carries the speed paint. So I've only used this one color, which just happens to be Purple Swarm. And as far as I can tell, it is functionally exactly the same. But the weird thing about contrast is all the different colors work differently. Some go on super dark and you barely see any highlight left at all. And some are very transparent and the color seeps right into the recesses and shades, and you get a lot of the white coming through. So I assume that Army Painter speed paints are going to be the same. So yeah, that's about the most I can talk to is Purple Swarm, which I like. I've used it a lot. It's great. I've used it in the same way as I was using the contrast earlier, kind of as a shade, and I love it.
Is that the first wave or second wave of their speed paint line?
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe the second, because I've only had it for
Did you get it
a
recently?
couple of weeks. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's probably second.
It came as part of a brand new display at the Game Castle near my house, and they put it up the day before, I feel like. And that was probably 3 weeks ago.
All right. Well, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up here. So go ahead and we'll give you links back to the
Purple Swarm.
we'll give you links to the Carnage 2 Kickstarter and the Munchkin Big Box backer kit before we head out of here. And then we're going to go ahead and send you on over to the Band of Badgers here, who, let me check real quick, make sure they're running already. Looks like they are. They've got a bunch of people painting, including our own Will Schoonover, who is going to be over there with them. So want to thank you guys again. We'll be back next week. Not sure what we're doing yet, but we'll be keeping track of the end of the Munchkin Big Box, how this one, Carnage 2, is going, and whatever else happens in the meantime. But thank you guys for joining us
Yep.
for SJ Games
Thank you
Live.
very
We're
much.
here every week about 2 o'clock Central Time. And well, I
Maybe
think
I
you'll
will
join
see
us.
you next week.
maybe Ben will be back. Maybe
I'll
he'll be
definitely be
busy.
here.
I'll probably be here, yeah. So we're going to go ahead and raid out to Band of Badgers. And so we're going to bounce your way over there. So if you hang out here, we'll join over there and just let them know we sent you and say hi for us. Tell Will, Ben, and Jimmy say hi. All
I
right.
will.
Thank you for joining us, everybody. Have a good day. We'll catch you on later.
So long.
And
I'll see you on the next one.
nope. All right.
Yeah.